The signal of the galaxy was calm that night, calm in the way deep space can be when only stars and cold silence surround you. But inside the hall of the Galactic Council, there was no calm at all. A faint signal had arrived from the far edges of known space. The data was grainy, distorted by distance. But the signature was clear. An object was moving through hyperspace, heading straight toward the Council's territory. The source planet was new to their politics, a place most of them had only read about in reports. Earth, the alien leaders. Gathered in the high chamber, their bodies glowing, shifting, or shimmering under the grand lights. Some were covered in scales, some with fur, some with skin like glass. All spoke in worried tones. The first to speak was Counselor Veller, his voice sharp like broken crystal. "We invited Earth to send diplomats for this first meeting," he said. "But this is no diplomatic ship." Another counselor laughed, her voice deep like a drum. "They are young in the stars. They will send negotiators. Perhaps a shuttle with a few guards, nothing more." But the readings on the holodisplay said otherwise. The object was huge, 3 kilometers from bow to stern. Its energy readings were like a star's heartbeat, raw and dangerous. No cargo. Bays for gifts, no elegant design for ceremonies. Only layers of thick armor and weapon ports. Far away, in the black shadow of an asteroid belt. The ship itself cut through space like a predator. The human warship Titan's Fist was not painted in bright colors of peace. Its hull was dark, built to swallow light. On its flanks, massive railgun batteries lay in silent readiness. The engines pulsed like the slow breathing of some giant beast. Inside, Captain Elias Rourke stood on the bridge, hands clasped behind his back. His eyes were fixed on the holographic map of their route. Around him, his crew worked quietly. No one spoke unless it was necessary. The air was tense but steady. These were professionals. Status? Rourke asked without turning his head. "All systems ready, Captain," replied Commander Hale. "We'll drop out of hyperspace within 20 minutes. No signs of interception yet." Rourke gave a single nod. He knew there would be no warm welcome. Earth had not sent him here to shake hands and smile. They had sent him because they had read the Council's secret communications. They knew the galaxy did not see humans as equals. They saw them as prey, far above the human ship. In the galactic news networks, the first whispers had already begun. Humans send a battleship to a peace summit? One reporter said. The broadcast spread like wildfire through dozens of star systems. To some, it was proof of human arrogance. To others, it was a warning that maybe Earth was more dangerous than anyone thought. Back in the council chamber, arguments grew louder. Some wanted to send fleets to block the humans from entering their space. Others thought it was better to let them arrive and watch them closely. The head of the council, an ancient being named Sorath, finally raised a hand for silence. His voice was deep and slow. "We will meet them. We will see for ourselves what these humans are." But in his private mind, Sorath was not calm. The readings on that ship were troubling. It moved like a blade. Straight and certain, no hesitation, no drift. This was not the movement of traders or explorers. This was the approach of warriors. On the Titan's Fist, Rourke finally allowed himself a small smile. He remembered his briefing back on Earth. The room had been full of generals, strategists, and security chiefs. One of them had told him, "Captain, the galaxy doesn't respect words. They respect strength. Show them Earth's strength." He intended to do exactly that, through the forward viewports. The darkness began to thin as the neutral zone approached. Faint glimmers of alien satellites and patrol ships appeared in the distance. The crew tightened their grips on controls, eyes scanning for sudden movement. "Patrol ships on the edge of our path." Commander Hale reported. "They're scanning us now. Let them," Rourke said, his tone calm. "Give them something to talk about." The warship's hull shifted as weapon ports quietly opened, just enough for the patrol ships too. See, the human ship didn't aim, didn't lock targets. It simply let the aliens understand that it could. If it wished, the alien patrols slowed, their formation tightening. For a moment, it looked like they might block the humans. Then, one by one, they pulled aside, giving the Titan's fist a clear path into the galaxy's heart, back on the bridge. No one cheered. This was not victory. It was the first step. The Council didn't know yet that Earth had no intention of playing the role they expected. As the stars shifted outside and the ship slipped deeper into enemy territory, Captain Rourke gave his first true order of the mission. His voice was steady, his eyes unblinking. "Maintain course, weapons ready. We're here to talk our way." The Titan's fist moved forward, and somewhere in the Council Palace, someone whispered the words that would spread across 1,000 worlds in the days to come. Earth didn't send diplomats. They sent a warship. The arrival in the neutral zone. The stars bent and shimmered as the Titan's fist tore free from hyperspace. The vast darkness opened into the neutral zone, a stretch of space claimed by no single race, but watched by all. It was here that deals were made, secrets were traded, and wars sometimes began. The moment the human warship appeared, the zone's silence shattered. Dozens of alien patrol ships lit up their engines, sensor arrays spinning to life. Their crews spoke in rapid voices, reporting the arrival to their command centers. In their minds, they had expected a small envoy ship, something fragile and polite. What they saw instead made many of them fall. Silent mid-sentence, the Titan's fist dwarfed nearly every vessel in sight. Its black armor reflected no light, as if it were made from the void itself. The long barrels of its railguns lay motionless but visible, and missile ports sat like cold, staring eyes along its hull. On the bridge, Captain Elias Rourke stood at the forward viewport, arms folded, watching the alien formations tighten. He knew what they were thinking. He knew they were asking themselves whether they should fire first or speak first. "Multiple ships forming an escort," Commander Hall reported, his voice low but steady. "They're hailing us, Captain. Put it through." Rourke replied without looking away from the viewport. The image that appeared on the holoscreen was of an alien commander with skin like molten silver and eyes like sharp ice. His voice came out smooth but hard. "Human vessel, you have entered the neutral zone for a diplomatic summit, yet you arrive armed for war. Explain this." Rourke let a heartbeat pass before answering. "We are here for the meeting," he said simply. "Our ship is our protection." The alien's eyes narrowed. His kind were known for reading subtle cues. For him, the calm in Rourke's tone was more threatening than a raised voice. "Follow our escort," the alien said finally. "Any deviation will be seen as hostile." "Understood," Rourke said. The alien ships formed up around the Titan's fist, smaller craft buzzing like insects around a predator. Their weapons were not locked, but their targeting systems stayed. Awake, the human crew watched them closely. Lieutenant Vega, at the tactical console, leaned toward Commander Halle. "They're nervous," she said quietly. "I can see it in their flight patterns." "They should be," Halle answered without smiling. Through the viewport, the alien capital system grew closer, a cluster of worlds circling a bright, steady star. Defense platforms dotted the space like floating fortresses, each bristling with weapons. Civilian traffic moved in careful lanes, guided by patrol ships, but all eyes were now on the human warship in the capital's orbiting news stations. Live feeds showed the Titan's fist's slow, steady approach. Reporters spoke in a dozen languages, some with shock, others with thinly disguised fear. "This is no envoy," one broadcast said. "This is a message." Inside the Council Palace, leaders gathered in a smaller chamber to watch the incoming footage. "Why bring a warship to our heart?" Councillor Veller demanded, his voice sharp. "Do they think we will bow to a display of force?" Soreth, the head of the council, kept his gaze fixed on the screen. The human ship's movements were controlled, deliberate. There was no wasted motion, no unnecessary turns. "No," Soreth said slowly. "They do not expect us to bow. They expect us to understand." Back on the Titan's fist, Captain Rourke studied every defense measure they passed, every station's weapon alignment, every patrol route. His crew recorded it all, not because they planned to attack, but because Earth's command had ordered him to know the battlefield. Just in case words failed, an alien cruiser in the escort formation suddenly veered closer, its scanners flooding the Titan's fist with energy. The move was aggressive, too aggressive, Captain, Vega said sharply. They're trying a full military scan. Without hesitation, Rourke gave the order. Bring main batteries online. Do not lock targets. Just let them feel it. The deep hum of the warship's power core grew louder as weapon systems lit up. Railgun barrels rotated into firing position. Missile bays unlocked. The human ship did nothing more, but it didn't have to. On the alien cruiser, alarms screamed. The crew scrambled to cut their scan, pulling away from the Titan's fist. The alien commander's voice came over the channel, tight with forced politeness. Your readiness is noted, human vessel. Good, Rourke said simply, and cut the connection. The rest of the escort kept their distance after that. Hours passed as the convoy moved through the system. The Titan's fist never changed speed, never shifted course. Inside, the crew worked in silence. Each person knew the weight of what they represented, Earth's first real presence in the Council's territory. And they knew that first impressions could shape centuries. As they approached the orbit of the Council world, the planetary view filled the viewport. It was a breathtaking sight, a city world covered in glittering towers, skylanes filled with craft and orbital platforms shining like jewels. But no one on the human bridge was fooled. Beauty in this galaxy often hid danger, the alien escorts. Commander hailed them once more. Prepare for docking at the Grand Station. Do not deploy weapons or troops unless requested. Understood, Rourke said. But his mind was already on the next step. The Council was expecting him to walk into their palace unarmed. That was never going to happen. As the Titan's fist slid into its assigned berth, the entire docking, they seemed to pause. Hundreds of alien workers and officers stopped what they were doing to stare at the massive human vessel. The warship's hull loomed over them like a dark mountain. Inside the council chambers, Soreth leaned forward in his seat as the image of the Titan's fist settling into dock filled the screens. Send the envoys, he said quietly. Let us see if the humans come to talk or to conquer. On the bridge of the human warship, Captain Rourke straightened his uniform and turned to his crew. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. We're here now, he said. Let's make sure they never forget it. First, tensions. The docking clamps locked into place with a deep metallic echo. The Titan's fist sat like a dark predator inside the alien Grand Station, surrounded by dozens of smaller ships, but none dared drift too close. From the bridge, Captain Elias Rourke watched as the alien escort ships peeled away, leaving only a handful of armed patrol craft floating nearby. Their job was not just to guard the station. They were here to watch the humans. Docking complete, Commander Hawley reported. No boarding request yet, Captain. Rourke nodded slowly. His instincts told him the Council was not ready to face him directly. Not yet. They were watching, waiting, weighing their approach. The docking bay's vast windows allowed a clear view of the alien city below. Skies crisscrossed with air traffic, massive towers glinting under a pale sun. It was a world of wealth and influence, but also one of control. Every movement in the air lanes was perfectly timed, every platform guarded. Rourke studied it with a soldier's eye, noting weak points and hidden defenses alike. The first move came from the alien side. A formation of small, sleek shuttles entered the bay, slowing. As they neared the Titan's fist, each shuttle bore the golden crest of the Galactic Council. Their engines hummed softly as they took positions in front of the human warship. They're hailing us, Lieutenant Vega announced. Put them through, Rourke said, a holographic image flickered to life on the bridge, showing 3 alien envoys. Their appearances varied, one with long feathered crests, another with a face like sculpted stone, and the last with luminous green eyes that never blinked. The one in the center spoke. Humans of Earth, we welcome you to the Council's capital. The Assembly requests your presence for immediate talks. Rourke's reply was even and calm. I will attend when my security is ready. The green-eyed envoy tilted his head. Security? The council chamber is neutral ground. Weapons are forbidden. Then you will forgive me for not trusting words alone. Rourke answered, My people have learned that safety is our own responsibility. The alien envoy's lips tightened. Your caution may be seen as an insult. Then it will be an honest insult, Rourke said, without blinking, and the channel closed. For a moment, the bridge was silent. Then Commander Hawley spoke quietly. They're testing you, though. Keep testing until they know where we stand, Rourke said, turning to his crew. We're not here to bow. Outside the warship, alien workers began moving equipment around the dock. Some carried scanning devices, others rolled fuel lines toward the ship. But when they came within 20 meters of the Titan's fist, human Marines appeared at the outer airlocks, armored and armed. Their presence was enough to make the workers hesitate and back away. News of the standoff spread quickly through the station. Holoscreens in public areas replayed clips of the human Marines standing guard. Commentators argued in dozens of languages, some calling the humans reckless, others calling them fearless. In the council's private meeting room, the alien leaders debated fiercely. They are provoking us, Councillor Veller said sharply. If we allow this, they will walk over us in every negotiation. Sorath, the council head, kept his gaze on the live feed from the dock. The humans were disciplined. Every move was calculated. No nervous shifting, no wasted motion. They are showing us who they are, Sorath said. And they are waiting to see who we are. Back on the Titan's fist, Rourke moved to the war table in the center of the bridge. The holographic display showed the station's layout and the surrounding orbital defense grid. Vega, keep tracking every power fluctuation from those defense platforms, he ordered. If they aim even one gun our way, I want to know before they do. Aye, Captain, Vega replied, fingers moving quickly over her console. The moment of calm broke when a warning chime echoed through the bridge. Unknown vessel approaching, Hawley reported. It's a council enforcement cruiser. Heavily armed, the alien ship entered the dock, its weapons clearly active. It took a slow pass in front of the Titan's fist, scanning openly. The move was bold, a clear display of power. They want a reaction, Vega muttered. They'll get one, Rourke said. Bring main guns to half power. Just enough for them to see the heat signature. The warship's weapon arrays came alive, glowing faintly. The railguns rotated, tracking the alien cruiser's movement without locking on. The effect was immediate. The alien ship broke its slow circle and backed away, engines flaring hard. They blinked first, Hawley said quietly. Exactly, Rourke replied. Lesson 1: Earth does not play prey. The alien envoys returned with a second message. Their tone was cooler now. The council is ready for your arrival. You may bring a small security detail. That will do, Rourke said. We leave in 30 minutes, as the envoys signed off. Rourke turned to his crew. Keep the ship on full alert while I'm gone. If you see anything that even smells like a trap, you open fire without waiting for orders. The crew acknowledged as one. The humans knew that the council chamber would be a battlefield of words and politics, but the dock outside could turn into a battlefield of fire and steel at any moment. Far above the planet, in the alien news feeds, the latest headline began to spread. The humans refused to bow. The galaxy was watching, and Captain Rourke intended to give them something worth remembering. The council meeting, the shuttle ride from the Titan's fist to the council's main chamber, was silent. Captain Elias Rourke sat near the rear, his eyes fixed on the view beyond the narrow window. The alien city stretched far below, a forest of metal towers and glowing streets. Skies were filled with traffic, yet no ship dared fly close to the human shuttle. Beside him sat 4 Marines in black armor, faces hidden behind tinted visors. They carried compact rifles slung across their chests, a quiet reminder to anyone watching that the humans had not come unguarded. The shuttle descended toward a vast landing platform shaped like a shining disk. At the far end stood the councils. Main entrance tall arches carved with the history of 1,000 worlds. Alien guards in ornate armor lined the path. Their weapons were ceremonial, but their eyes followed every move the humans made. As the hatch opened, warm air heavy with strange scents rushed inside. Rourke stepped out first, his boots striking the polished stone. The alien crowd gathered behind the guards whispered in dozens of languages. Cameras hovered like curious insects, recording every second. A council envoy stepped forward, the same green-eyed alien from the docking bay transmission. His tone was polite but measured. "Captain Rourke, the council awaits you." Rourke gave a single nod and walked forward, his Marines following in tight formation. Each step echoed across the wide hall. The air inside was cooler, the walls lined with banners representing each member species. Above, the ceiling arched so high it vanished into a haze of light. They reached the main chamber, an enormous circular room with tiered seating rising high on every side. Representatives from over 100 worlds filled the seats, their voices murmured like distant thunder. In the center of the floor stood a raised platform, a single spotlight shining down on it. The head of the council, Sorath, rose from his seat. His towering figure cast a long shadow. "Captain Elias Rourke of Earth," he said in a deep, carrying voice. "You stand before the Galactic Council. We invited your people to discuss peace and trade. Yet you arrive in a vessel of war." Rourke met his gaze, his voice steady. "We arrive ready to protect ourselves. We come to speak, but we will not come unprepared." A ripple of reaction swept through the chamber. Some delegates looked offended. Others exchanged knowing glances. Councillor Veller leaned forward, his tone sharp. "Is this how humans greet potential allies? With threats?" Rourke did not flinch. "A weapon only threatens when it is aimed. Our weapons remain holstered. Our terms remain open." Sorath's eyes narrowed slightly. "Then speak your purpose. Why is Earth here?" Rourke stepped onto the central platform. The light caught the sharp lines of his face. "Earth is here to join the Council, but not as a weak voice to be ignored. We know of the agreements you made behind closed doors. We know of the fleets some of you plan to send toward our colonies. We are not naive." The murmur in the chamber grew louder. Some delegates stiffened, others shifted uncomfortably. The fact that the humans knew of secret plans was a dangerous revelation. Rourke continued, "We will trade, we will cooperate, but if any hand reaches toward our people with harm, that hand will not return." The silence that followed was heavy. The green-eyed envoy moved to speak, but Sorath raised a hand. "You speak boldly, Captain. Bold words often lead to bold consequences." Rourke's gaze didn't waver. "Then, let us hope the consequences are peace." From the upper tiers, a delegate with fur like gold stood. "If you seek peace, Captain, why bring a warship?" Rourke's voice was quiet, but it carried. "Because in this galaxy, peace belongs to the strong." The chamber fell silent again. Sorath studied him for a long moment before finally speaking. "Very well, Captain Rourke. Earth will be considered for membership, but understand this respect is earned here, and strength alone will not be enough." Rourke gave a small nod. "Respect works both ways." The session was ended with the strike of a ceremonial staff. The sound echoed through the chamber like a closing door. Rourke turned and walked toward the exit, his Marines falling in around him. Outside in the hall, alien reporters crowded forward. Cameras buzzed and questions flew in overlapping voices. "Captain, is Earth preparing for war? Are you threatening the Council? Will you withdraw your ship?" Rourke didn't slow. "Earth is prepared for peace," he said. "Peace on equal terms." The shuttle ride back to the Titan's Fist was as silent as the trip there. But this time, there was a change in the air await, a sense that the first lines of an unspoken conflict had just been drawn. When they arrived at the warship, Commander Holly met Rourke at the airlock. "How did it go?" Rourke's reply was short. "They know where we stand." Holly allowed himself a small smile. "And where do they stand?" Rourke's eyes were cold. We'll find out soon, above the station. The alien news feeds lit up with the images of the human captain standing alone in the center of the council chamber. Headlines burned across the screens. Earth's warship speaks. Humans refuse to yield. New power in the stars. Far away, on worlds where the name Earth had barely been spoken before, beings began to repeat it, some in admiration, some in fear. And aboard the Titan's Fist, Rourke stood once more at the viewport, watching the alien city lights burn in. The night, he knew this was only the beginning. The real test had yet to come. A test of strength 2 days after the tense meeting in the council chamber. A new message arrived on the Titan's Fist. It came directly from the council's military branch. The voice of the sender was smooth, polite, but carried an edge. Captain Rourke, the council invites your ship to take part in a friendly fleet exercise. A demonstration of skill and cooperation among allies. Rourke listened without expression. He knew an invitation wrapped in such careful words was rarely harmless. He had served too long to mistake it for anything other than a test. They want to see what we can do, Commander Hawley said after the transmission ended. Or maybe they want to embarrass us in front of their fleets. Rourke nodded. Either way, they'll get their answer. The details arrived soon after location. A large asteroid field outside the capital system. Objective: engage in simulated combat with mixed species fleets under strict rules. The Council likely expected the humans to follow those rules to the letter. Rourke already knew they would. Not when the Titan's Fist arrived at the exercise zone. The sight was impressive. Dozens of ships from different worlds floated in loose formations. Some were elegant and sleek, built for speed and agility. Others were massive carriers with swarms of smaller craft drifting around them. The human ship stood apart, dark and silent. Its armor swallowed the light. Its weapons remained cold. But every alien captain present felt the same quiet pressure, as if the human vessel was already aiming at them. The Council's lead admiral, a tall insectoid being with shimmering wings, hailed Rourke. You will be assigned to the red team. The objective is to disable the blue team's flagship within the exercise rules. No real weapons will be fired. All damage will be simulated by the exercise network. Understood, Rourke said, but his tone was unreadable inside the war. Room of the Titan's Fist. Holograms of the asteroid field and all participating ships lit up the air. Lieutenant Vega spoke quickly. Captain, the blue team's flagship is heavily shielded and protected by at least 12 escorts. If we follow the rules, we'll have to go straight through them. Rourke smiled faintly. Then we won't follow the rules. The crew leaned in as he explained the plan. It was risky, but it was pure human thinking. Use unpredictability as a weapon when the exercise began. The Titan's Fist did not rush into the main fight like the other red team ships. Instead, it slid into the shadow of a massive asteroid, engines barely humming. The alien allies shouted over comms, demanding the humans move into formation. Rourke ignored them. Minutes passed. The main battle raged in open space, laser fire flashing harmlessly in simulation. But the humans stayed hidden, mapping every enemy move, every escort's patrol path. Then Rourke gave the order, engage. Stealth systems, full power to maneuvering thrusters. The Titan's Fist moved like a shadow through the asteroid field, weaving between spinning rocks the size of cities. The crew's eyes were locked on their screens, tracking the blue team's flagship as it shifted to support its front line. That was the moment Rourke had been waiting for. Launch drones, he said. A swarm of small, fast attack drones burst from the warship's bays. Each one carried electronic warfare modules, programmed to confuse the enemy's targeting sensors. The drones spread out, sending false readings to the exercise network, making it seem as though the human warship was in 3 places at once. The blue team's escorts broke formation to chase these ghost targets. That left a gap, a narrow path straight to the flagship. Full burn, Rourke ordered. The Titan's Fist roared forward, its simulated weapons locking onto the flagship. Before the enemy realized what had happened, The moment the computer registered the kill, the simulation flashed across every fleet's display: blue team flagship destroyed. In less than 10 minutes, the human warship had ended the battle. The rest of the fleets drifted in stunned silence. On the comms, the Council's admiral spoke, his tone clipped. "Captain Rourke, that maneuver was unconventional. It was effective," Rourke replied. The alien commanders whispered to each other. Some were impressed, others irritated, but all of them now understood that the humans thought differently. They didn't just play the game, they rewrote it. Back on the Titan's fist, the crew exchanged quiet smiles. Lieutenant Vega shook her head. "They'll either respect us more now, or fear us more. They're the same thing." "In this galaxy," Rourke said, news of the exercise spread within hours. Footage of the human warship appearing out of nowhere and taking out the flagship became the most replayed moment on the galactic networks. Commentators argued over whether the maneuver had been genius or dishonorable. In the Council's private chamber, Sorath spoke to his fellow leaders. "The humans are dangerous, not only because of their weapons, but because of their minds. We must decide if they are to be our allies or our greatest threat." Rourke, standing at the viewport of his ship, already knew the answer for himself. "They know we're not to be underestimated now," he said quietly. And that's exactly what Earth wanted. The asteroids drifted silently outside, the battlefield now calm. But the tension in the galaxy had just doubled, and for the humans aboard the Titan's fist, this was only the beginning. The hidden threat, the victory in the fleet exercise, had barely faded from the galactic news when the first warning came. It arrived as a scrambled transmission from an anonymous source. The voice was rushed, almost panicked. "They will not forgive what you did, Captain. They are planning something soon." On the bridge of the Titan's fist, Captain Elias Rourke stood in silence for a moment. He didn't need to ask who they were. The Council's enemies were many, but so were those who had felt humiliated by the humans' display. Commander Hale leaned closer. "Could be a bluff, Captain." Rourke shook his head slowly. "No, it's a test." And a trap. The Titan's fist remained in dock at the Grand Station, its systems on full readiness. Marines patrolled the corridors in pairs, scanning every hatch and maintenance tunnel. The human crew knew the danger wasn't only in open battle sometimes. The deadliest attacks came in the quiet hours. Night on the station was different from night on the planet. The lights dimmed, the traffic slowed, but nothing truly slept. In the shadow of the warship's hull, small shapes moved too. Small to be ships, they were drones, matte black and built for silence. They clung to the docking arms like insects on a branch inside the ship. Lieutenant Vega's voice cut through the bridge's low hum. "Captain, I've got movement under the portside hull. No ID signals." Rourke didn't hesitate. "Seal the ship. Activate point defense grid." Panels along the Titan's fist lit up. Small turrets swiveling into position. A heartbeat later, thin streams of energy fire lanced into the shadows. The intruder drones scattered, but a few were quick enough to latch onto the hull. "They're trying to breach the outer plating," Vega reported. "Not with explosives, they're using cutting tools. Send a security team outside," Rourke ordered, "and prep countermeasures. I want those things gone in 60 seconds. Through the external cameras, the crew watched Marines in magnetic boots step out onto the hull, weapons in hand. The silent black drones spun toward them, extending mechanical arms tipped with glowing cutters. The fight was quick and brutal, Marines firing short bursts, drones exploding into silent sparks. But even as the last drone fell away, Vega's console beeped sharply. "Captain, multiple ships approaching, no transponder codes. They're coming in fast from the dark side of the station." Rourke's eyes hardened. "All hands to battle stations, break dock." The docking clamps released with a heavy clunk. Engines roared to life. The Titan's fist slid away from the station, turning to face the incoming threat. Out of the shadows emerged a swarm of small attack craft, black and jagged, their hulls painted to blend with the void. "They're not Council ships," Hale said, scanning quickly. These are mercenary. Designs cheap, fast, and deadly if they get close. The attackers didn't hail, didn't warn. They opened fire immediately, streams of energy bolts streaking toward the human ship. The Titan's fist rolled to the side. Armor plates absorbing the first volley. "Return fire," Rourke ordered. The warship's railguns barked in rapid sequence. Each slug crossed the distance in a blink, slamming into the mercenary ships. The first 3 attackers vanished in clouds of debris, but more kept coming. Weaving through the battlefield with reckless speed, one ship dove close, its weapons glowing. But before it could fire, a burst from the Titan's fist's side batteries tore it in half. Viga's voice was sharp. "Captain, they're trying to push us toward the outer defense ring. If we drift too far, those platforms could think we're part of the fight and fire on us." Rourke's mind was already moving 3 steps ahead. Then we take the fight away from the station, full thrust, head for open space. The Titan's fist surged forward, its massive engines shaking the deck. The attackers followed, but now the humans had room to maneuver. The warship spun hard to port, unleashing a wall of missile fire. Explosions lit the void, scattering the enemy formation. The survivors broke off, fleeing into the dark. Rourke didn't chase. He knew better than to run after prey that might be leading him into another trap. As the battlefield quieted, Hale looked over. "This wasn't random, Captain. They knew when and where to hit us," Rourke nodded. "Someone gave them our docking schedule. Someone inside the council wants us gone," the warship returned to. Dock under heavy guard. The station's officials spoke in polite tones, offering assistance. But Rourke could see it in their eyes. This attack wasn't a surprise to them. Some of them had expected it, maybe even planned it. In his quarters that night, Rourke stared at the city lights beyond the viewport. "They think they can scare US into leaving," he said quietly to himself. "They're wrong." Across the galaxy, newsfeeds lit up again. Footage of the surprise attack on the human warship played in endless loops. The commentators didn't agree on who was behind it. But one truth spread quickly: Earth's warship had survived against overwhelming odds, and it had fought back without hesitation. For Rourke and his crew, the message was clear. The council chamber had been a battlefield of words. The exercise had been a battlefield of skill. But now, they had stepped into a battlefield of survival, and the real war might already have begun. The new agreement, the attack on the Titan's fist, had changed everything. It was no longer a matter of whispers or speculation. The galaxy had seen it. Someone inside the council's reach had tried to destroy Earth's warship and failed in. The days that followed, the council chamber was restless. Delegates spoke in sharp voices, accusing each other without naming names. The official stance was that the attackers were rogue mercenaries. But everyone in the room knew that truth went deeper. Captain Elias Rourke received a formal summons to return to the council. The wording was polite, but the meaning was clear. This meeting would decide whether Earth would remain in the political game or be cast out entirely. When the Titan's fist's shuttle touched down on the council platform, the air was thick with tension. Crowds filled the viewing balconies. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras followed every step as Rourke and his escort of Marines walked toward the main chamber. Inside, the great circle of the council was silent as Sorath, the head of the council, rose to speak. His deep voice echoed across the room. "Captain Rourke of Earth, we have seen your strength. We have also seen the dangers your presence brings." Rourke stepped forward to the center platform. His boots rang against the polished floor. "Danger follows weakness," he said calmly. "We didn't bring the threat, someone here sent it." A wave of murmurs rippled through the seats. Counselor Veller slammed a clawed hand against his desk. "You accuse without proof." Rourke's eyes didn't leave Sorath's. "The proof is in the fact that my crew is still alive. The ones who sent those ships wanted to scare Earth into leaving. They failed." Sorath's gaze was steady. "And if we told you that your presence is too disruptive to be allowed here?" Rourke's reply was firm. "Then you would be telling every world watching that fear runs this council." The words hung in the air, powerful in their simplicity. The delegates shifted in their seats. Some nodded slightly, others scowled. Soreth raised a hand for silence. "What do you want, Captain?" Rourke spoke without hesitation. "A treaty, one that recognizes Earth as an equal member of this council. One that ensures no world, no fleet can act against us without facing the combined force of every member." The room erupted into noise. Some delegates shouted in anger, others in surprise. The idea of extending such protection to a new and untested species was unheard of. Councillor Veller's voice cut through the noise. "You ask for the shield of the council while holding a sword at its throat." Rourke's tone was ice. "The sword only strikes if the shield fails." Soreth sat back in his seat, his eyes narrowing. "And if we refuse?" Rourke glanced upward toward the distant balcony where the holocameras floated. "Then every citizen in this galaxy will see a council that allowed an unprovoked attack on a guest, and did nothing." The silence that followed was different this time, heavier. Some delegates were not looking at Rourke anymore, but at the holocameras. They knew his words were true. The galaxy was watching. After a long pause, Soreth spoke again. "Leave us, Captain. The council will decide." Rourke gave a short nod and turned to leave. His marines fell in behind him. The massive chamber doors closed with a deep thud. For hours, the council argued. Voices rose and fell. Old rivalries flaring alongside new fears. Some wanted to deny the treaty out of pride. Others wanted to accept it to avoid making Earth an enemy. When Rourke was finally summoned back, the chamber was quieter. Soreth stood. "Captain Elias Rourke. Of Earth, by majority vote, the Council agrees to the Treaty of Mutual Defense. Earth will join as an equal member. And any act of aggression against your people will be treated as an act against us all." Rourke didn't smile, but his eyes sharpened. "Then we have an understanding." The ceremonial signing was brief, but watched across the galaxy. Soreth's hand and Rourke's met over the treaty's holo-seal. Cameras flashed, and the image spread instantly to every world. Later, back aboard the Titan's Fist, Commander Halley stood beside Rourke at the viewport. "You realize, Captain, this treaty won't stop everyone from trying to test us." Rourke's gaze stayed on the stars. "Good. That way they'll learn the same lesson twice." The warships' engines came alive, pulling it free from the station and into the cold dark. Below, the council world's lights faded. The crew moved through their stations with a quiet confidence. In the alien news feeds, new headlines rolled. "Earth joins the council. The warship that changed the vote." A new power rises across dozens of systems. People spoke the name Earth with a mix of curiosity, caution, and newfound respect. And somewhere far beyond the council's borders, in the empty spaces where wars often begin, captains and warlords watched the footage of the Titan's Fist. Weighing their choices carefully, they all knew now Earth didn't send diplomats when survival was at stake. Earth sent warriors, and the galaxy would never forget it.